Oh, now for Oregon, it's very simple. To be part of that conversation, Jerry, the Ducks have to beat Washington, probably have to beat Washington to stay in the college football playoff conversation as well. We talked in the beginning of the show about how impressive the win was over USC, and I would argue that the offense specifically, Jerry, was the most impressive part of that win when you consider what it did, scoring 40-plus and doing it with a lot of backups on the field for the majority of that game.
When you look at the energy that game took to beat USC and how physical that game was, Dan Lanning's got to do maybe his best job of the year because this Washington team is really, really dangerous. You mentioned the injuries, Rick. At some point, they were down 3 starting offensive linemen. Now, some of them will come back. So we don't know how healthy everybody's going to be. I think when Washington talks about their defensive game plan, I think injuries are going to play part of it. Injuries on the Oregon offensive line. If the offensive line is guys that have been out of position or haven't played a lot, changing positions, they're just unsettled in the offensive line. Ryan Walters is a pressure guy by nature. This gives him even more reasons to maybe give the Oregon offensive line more looks, more movement, and so on. There is a gamble to that because one thing that Oregon does well, regardless of who's playing the offensive line, is they're a gap team. They block down, someone kicks out, and there's a crease up the middle. They did it to USC. They virtually do it to everybody that they play. So the injuries in the offensive line, I think, will be part of Ryan Walters' game plan. If they're healthy, maybe he'll play it a little bit more straight. But I would say to you, if they don't come in really healthy in the O-line, Ryan Walters is going to show them everything he can.
You know, Jerry, in a lot of scenarios like that, in offense, we'll try to run the quarterback. We didn't see Dante Moore run all that much. Why do you think that is?
I think this time of year, Rick, especially if you're not deep and especially if you have a guy that's, better than most quarterbacks in the country, I think you're going to use him only to get a first down, 3rd and short maybe on the goal line, and certainly if you're in a position where you're in the red zone and you want to give it to the quarterback. So I think the short version is only use a quarterback this time of year, a star quarterback this time of year, when you need a first down and you need a touchdown.
Well, you could argue that from the Washington perspective as well, right? Because you have Damon Williams, who can beat you with his legs as much, if not more, than he beats you with his arms. So what do we expect from this Washington offense against Oregon's D?
Yeah, Damon Williams is the key. Jedd Fisch loves to add a gap that the defense has to protect. Oftentimes you'll see a guard, tackle, tight end on one side, guard, tackle, and maybe an H-back or a tight end. He loves to give a 3-man surface on both sides of center because it plays to his personnel. You look at Williams, you look at Coleman, and you look at Boston. Those formations play well for a running back because there's an extra gap, for a wide receiver because you have to bring someone down from the secondary to get inside the box to defend the run. So the perfect play, the perfect formation for Jedd Fisch is to have 2 3-man services because it features their 3 best players, their quarterback, their running back, and their wide receiver. The other thing is, remember, Oregon got called for pass interference against SC. I remember there was 2 in a row, and I can't remember how many there were totally, but Jedd Fisch will try that early and often. He will throw the deep ball, and he will try to match up one-on-one, and obviously he wants a completion, but if he doesn't get the completion and he gets pass interference, just like SC got 30 yards back-to-back with 2 15-yard penalties. So look for Jedd Fisch to do that.
Yes, the officials were very busy in that game in Eugene this past weekend. We'll see if that's the case this week in Seattle. By the way, one stat that just blows you away when you really start to think about it, since Oregon joined the Big Ten, they are 9-0 in true road games, and in 6 of those 9 wins, they won by 20 points or more. When folks say winning on the road is hard in the Big Ten, Dan Lanning says, not really, not for us.